Welcome, friends. This is Virtually Sunday, an offering of Whatsoever You Do Incorporated. I'm Norbertine Father Tim Chilcox, coming to you from St. Norbert Abbey with reflections for the 22nd Sunday of the year C. So we're looking at Luke's Gospel passage and the readings that go along with that. I got a sort of a funny memory in my head from when I was a boy. It was regarding my dad and his older brother. So Wayne and my dad and Grant, they're a couple years apart, 3-4 years apart. Good guys, both of them maybe 5'6", 5'7", no more than 130 pounds. But they had a lot of energy, sort of a high energy kind of spirit about them, and. Once in a while, our two families would go out for a meal. Mom and dad, my twin sister and I, and Grant and Ellie and their two daughters. And I always hated it when we got to the end of the meal because there would always be a fight about the check. But not in the way you think. That's not how our family rolled, not my dad and Uncle Grant. Their fight was to see who got the check. And it wouldn't be just sort of a polite, I'll take it. No, I'll take it. No, I'll take it. I'll take it. All that kind of stuff. They fought to have the check. It got embarrassing at times, sort of loud in a restaurant. Luckily, we didn't go to any fancy places, usually to simple diner type places, but nonetheless, and one had to grab eventually and get it. And it was always both sort of funny and embarrassing at the same time, and sort of countercultural because most times the presumption is that you're going to stiff the other guy with the check, but not my dad, not my Uncle Grant. They didn't want to have to owe anybody anything, and so they wanted the kindness, the generosity, but also I think the control that comes from being able to provide, to take care of things. Both of them children of the Depression, perhaps that's part of what fed into it. Jesus, as he's invited to the fancy dinner, observing how people are looking for the big seats and giving his teachings in these two beautiful parables in the gospel today, he's perfectly comfortable, perfectly humble enough to realize that he needs the kindness of strangers, the kindness of Pharisees and scribes and all the rest, because he doesn't have deep pockets. He doesn't have a sugar daddy. He doesn't have a big bank account or investment portfolio. And so he humbly and graciously accepts the kindness of others and encourages us to provide that kind of kindness to those who have been humbled by life. When you give a banquet, a lunch, or a dinner, do not invite your friends or brothers or relatives, wealthy neighbors. They might invite you in return and repay you. No, when you have a reception, invite beggars, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and be pleased that they cannot repay you, for you will be repaid in the reward of the just, in the heavenly reward. Have you ever thought about it, brothers and sisters? How it must feel to have to be on the receiving end when one is desperate, when maybe is out of work or homeless, when one has to absolutely rely on the kindness of strangers. How vulnerable that is. What happens if no one reaches out? Then you're just out in the cold with an empty stomach. Then what do? Be glad that they cannot repay you. St. Vincent de Paul, a French priest, the society named after him does so much good work. They talk about him the first 10 years as a priest. He lived a life of clerical ease. His Fanny and the butter, sort of easy, light duty, all pretty safe, no rubbing elbows with anybody who's poor. But eventually his heart was changed and he gave himself to ministry to the poor. He wrote once, "Someday the poor will have to forgive you who are rich and well-heeled, for having seen them so vulnerable." Truth be told, brothers and sisters, aren't we all so vulnerable? When it really comes to the big things, our physical health, our mental health, our capacity to change things, our capacity to control things, Life teaches us, doesn't it, that uh, even self-control is a big deal. Those of us who work at eliminating bad habits or patterns, sometimes for weeks, sometimes for months, sometimes for decades or a lifetime, an ongoing struggle, fighting the good fight. Paul knew what that was in the prison before his death, writing to Timothy, "I've fought the good fight. I've struggled my life long. I've been powerless and weak and vulnerable. I've had to rely on God's grace and God's mercy and God's strength." Basically, it's a matter of uh, humility, which the first reading this weekend coaches us in. Uh, just a beautiful one. Let me just give you a little bit of it here if I can. "My son or daughter, conduct your affairs with humility, and you will be loved more than a giver of gifts. Humble yourself, the greater you are, and you will find favor with God." How hard this can be, that business of pride and vanity that sneaks in. We tend to think that it's my way or the highway. I know it all. St. Augustine, in his rule, which we follow, I'm wearing my habit because it's being recorded on St. Augustine's Day, our big feast day at the Abbey. We follow his rule. But in his rule, he says, talking about pride, not humility, the antithesis of humility, pride, he says, pride, unlike every other sin that's involved with the commission of evil deeds, pride infects good deeds to destroy them. How about that? We do something well. Was it because we're so amazing? Was it because we thought it up ourselves? Or maybe did the Holy Spirit move within us? Or maybe through another person to give us an idea or a support or what we needed, the right tools, the right skills, teachers that trained us, all the rest. And then too, sometimes, I thought of it the other day, I was talking with another guy about preaching. Sometimes when the homily comes off our lips, we think, "Whoa, that's just amazing. Where'd that come from? I must really be something." Get over yourself, Tim. And then you listen to it a week later or a month later. Oh my gosh, it's disorganized. I dropped a point there. I misspoke in that part. Sometimes time notches us back a little bit. All of that, getting at the core of this weekend's readings, to be humble, to be human, to be honest about our strengths and abilities and God-given gifts, but also about our weaknesses and our needs, to be vulnerable, to ask for help when we need it, to let other people do for us when we're weak. Sooner or later, our physical health is going to go out from under us, maybe our mental health too. In the confessional, our spiritual health and wellness, we need other people. We need medical and sometimes psychological and everyday pastoral and spiritual care. That's why the business of Christianity, it's not a solo sport. We walk together. We need one another. We can help others. They need our good example. They need our support. That's why we show up at church on weekends, because we can't go it alone. We need to realize there's other people struggling like we are. There's other people who really believe this stuff about forgiveness and mercy from God and healing and love stronger than death. It is humbling. We can't afford to buy our own lunch all the time, or we can't afford to buy the lunch of other people either sometimes. We acknowledge our own limits, which makes us go gently with the limits of others. And when we have a surplus, when we can be generous to them, to be eager to do it, not to be paid back, but simply for the grace of helping a brother or sister, knowing that sooner or later, or maybe in the past regularly, we've needed that same kind of help. Conduct your affairs with humility, and you will be loved more than a giver of gifts. Humble yourself, the more you are. Humble yourself, the more the greater you are, and you will find favor with God. Dear brothers and sisters, hearing the Lord's word this weekend, being invited to draw near to the Lord who is so humble and meek and gentle of heart, so non-threatening, so down to earth and willing to be with us and take care of us. May we enter into that humility, not looking for the limelight of the world, not looking for the best seats, not looking for people to love us or throw compliments, that kind of stuff. May we be willing to take the last seat. May we be willing to be helped when we're desperate, when we're in need, to help others, and to may we find Jesus in all of that. God bless you, brothers and sisters.